Hi, I'm Lily from the Cardiff and South East Wales JLD, and today we're going to be asking some people in the Cardiff legal community what it means to them for Black History Month.
Hi, my name's Dane and I'm from the National Community Law Project.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Dane.
Thank you.
So my first question is, this year's Black History Month theme was action, not words. What does that mean to you?
It's a bit of it's something which I got to think about in the fact of I don't actually agree with the statement. I think I do believe there is action without words, but I believe words are very powerful. Now, in the context of talking about Black History Month and the issues around Black people, I think the labels that people the media uses quite a lot is the actual reinforcing the divisions that we're seeing now in racism. So I think once we get the wording right and the media stops dividing people by utilizing labels and the kind of stereotypes. So if for instance you're watching Black films or you're watching films with Black people in them, where the Black person is always the downtrodden or the gangster or the criminal, and the same type of them themes constantly going in over and over again, reinforcing that stereotype. So when people actually meet Black people, it takes them a while to understand that that's not the reality.
They already have a prejudice based off of the media.
Absolutely.
So what would you say would be the first step to kind of back away from that? Because I think we talk a lot about institutional racism. Would you say the media and all those things, that division, that polarizing it, is the main problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about it, we've all got friends from different minorities. Some others more than others. And once we join up and we unite and we get past our boundary, we realise that the person is just an individual.
Right.
And in the most nicest of sense. So whether they're a good person or whether they're a bad person, they're an individual. And then when you meet somebody else with the same characteristics, you realise they're different people. So the stereotype is, I believe, primarily from the media, and there's quite a lot of research, as you know, which have gone into this. But it's media driven. The division is coming from the way the media is portraying Black people, and once that is what needs to change, because until that changes, then every time we're walking down the street and we see somebody, we're going to have these reinforced stereotypes that just ain't real. It is a lot of self-reflection, as some of my colleagues have said on the other videos, of being aware of the prejudice of which we're holding, and making sure that we do see the individual beyond the stereotype, which is quite easy when we've got a large, diverse group of people like myself. I'm lucky, fortunate in that way. I've always had a large, diverse portfolio of people in that way, so we can see the individual. We can also notice the prejudice, not just within ourselves, but within the community and society, which is constantly being reinforced by the media.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I mean, it kind of goes back to even Martin Luther King, that I have a dream speech that my sons will be judged on the basis of the character, not the color of his skin. But that's 60 years ago now, and we're still fighting for that. Or the Black community, BAME community, is still fighting for that same thing. What do you think will stop? What do you think will make that happen?
Well, we've got to look. For instance, we just had the new Rishi Sunak just voted in. Now, the reason I believe he was voted in by the Conservative is because he has quite a lot of economic, whether I agree with it or not. People believe that he's economically sound. Yet he stood in Parliament, and then he's being congratulated for being the first Asian person in Parliament or Prime Minister. To me, what relevance has that got? What do you know at the end? What relevance is that? The first female Prime Minister. What relevance is that if the person can either do the job or they can't?
Right.
And then if you notice the way the media handles that before Keir Starmer said that, and then after. Then you kind of realise that how the media constantly is reinforcing the labels. Even today, like that was a few days ago, even today, we're seeing how the media is constantly reinforcing these labels, and people are watching them, whether they believe it or not, they're constantly being reinforced with it, so it's always in their face.
Right.
So, and when you're starting to see that, and then you break away from that mold, and then you just take a step back and see what the media is actually doing consistently, then you can understand why people are constantly seeing the colour of people's skin as a way to define somebody.
Rather than their characters and their actions and everything
or
else.
their sex or their sexuality, you know?
Right.
I believe all of these things are good fruits. Standing up for black liberty, standing up for black rights, standing up for women's rights, standing up for LGBTQ, and they're fruits of a good liberal society, but they should not be the foundation of the society. It shouldn't be what we base everything on, and it's not us basing it on them. It's the way the media is reinforced. They're turning a very positive thing into a very negative, label-driven, constantly more labels put on everybody for every aspect, and all it does is just make people it just reinforces
more division
stereotype.
as well.
Absolutely.
Do you fit this label or do you fit that label?
Yeah.
And so that's a very interesting point, actually.
Well, I've never met two people who are the same.
Yes.
Ever. And this is why.
But I think that's the beauty in it, right?
The beauty, yeah. It's individualism. So if we see the individual behind, we've all got commonalities, but
Absolutely.
I've never seen two people from same colour, same sex, same race.
Yeah.
I've never seen two people the same.
Yeah, we're our own fingerprint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once the media starts, or people start realising what the media do, and that starts changing, then I believe that we'll stop seeing these stereotypes. But at the moment, they just like to keep dividing, and obviously.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So I have to ask you, who's your biggest inspiration or role model, and why?
Oh, where do I start? said Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Oprah Winfrey. For black role models, Mahatma Gandhi. There's many people, and I can draw on a lot of people that have been my inspirations over the years, but for different reasons.
Right.
So when we look at for instance, the peace movement, the peace movement in India with Mahatma Gandhi, the way he conducted himself is just a no war, to the best of his ability, trying to stop all the war in India with what was going on with Britain at the time. That teaches me how to look for peace. I'm known for having a strong mind, and I'm known for having a strong will, and I will, if I stick my mind to anything, I will achieve it. But I've been like that all my life. So, but you also got to find a balance.
Right.
And people like that, people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King, they teach you that balance. You know. But if you want a bit of a war, and you want to be a little bit more stronger in your intellect, and you want to be a little bit more harder with the way you move forward, you look at Malcolm X. Yeah. If you want to engage with the world and be the world and have the world at your fingertips, you be Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
So there's different people for different causes,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think all those people are very inspirational. I think Martin Luther King as well, just like that. Hate does not drive out hate, that only love can do that. I think that's such a beautiful thing. I've used that in so many things in my own life, in my own experiences, be tolerance and understanding of others, different opinions. So yeah, I definitely agree with all of those. But so I have this quote from the recent former president of the Law Society, Stephanie Boyce. She said, "Black people often experience racism and discrimination. Then they are expected to fix it. This must change. A third of Black, African, and Caribbean solicitors say they have experienced some form of discrimination or bullying in the workplace, the highest figure reported by any ethnic group. Have you or anyone you know experienced discrimination in the legal field?"
Legal fields, it's a bit different for us, I would say, in the National Community Law Projects. We're very, very diverse. We've got more ethnic minorities with us and international students with us than any other. So, it's a very, very diverse company. I think it was over 70%.
Oh, that's really great. Like to have that representation.
Yeah,
I think in the same speech, Stephanie Boyce said that only 1% of solicitors are actually Black. So the fact that is such a huge statistic, 70%, that's actually a lot of representation. It's quite
yeah, definitely. We've got a lot through the way we've linked up, and Daniel linked up with India, and we've got people from literally all over the world.
That's really great.
But that's something that I would advocate for anyway. My private organisations as well are very diverse. So we've always got over 50-60%. Well, there's over 60% of people from ethnic minorities.
And was that your aim when you went to do it? You wanted to give more representation to the communities?
It's because I think it was just a natural thing in the fact of I was growing up in a very multicultural world. So it's like my nieces and nephews are Indian. My mother's half Nigerian and half Welsh. my brother's half Somali and half, you know.
Yeah.
You got
That's really interesting.
yeah,
That's,
I'm African, you know, Scottish and Welsh.
yeah, that's
you
a
know.
good that's a good mix. It's
So
interesting.
my family is very, very diverse. So just by my nature, that's the community I inherit, or the community I attract will be the representation of how I grew up. So naturally, if somebody's coming to me for employment, regardless of what they're, you know, I look at the individual and see whether they're fit to work, and then we bring them in that way.
Yeah.
So it's just an external representation of where I was.
It goes back to their like character, their skills, their capability rather than, and that's really great. And what would you like to see changed for the BAME community in the legal field as a whole?
As a whole, more in Wales, which I'm privy to, there definitely needs to be a lot more diversity. A lot more diversity there. You've got a lot of people, got a lot of talent, and I'm lucky to embrace that talent. So if Wales is not wise enough for me to be quite to be honest, to be polite, he's not wise enough to embrace that talent, that's fine, because we will.
Right.
So you know that they're at the loss, you know, not us, because we will embrace that talent anyway, to the best of our ability. But yeah, but there's a lot of talent there, and there's people there with all different skills, and diversity can only enrich your company. There's no disadvantage to diversity. It can only benefit you.
Yeah.
Even down to if you've got somebody coming in there speaking a different language and you need somebody to help them speak a different language.
Yeah, I think different cultures give different perspectives as well. It opens your eyes. It makes people more aware of different things going on in the world. I think,
absolutely,
you know, there's always a benefit to it.
Yeah, it makes you wiser. It makes you so much wiser. It's like if a woman comes in and they've got a really sensitive issue, you know what I mean, they don't feel comfortable speaking with a man, you need to have somebody woman there. If you're going up and you're rising through and you're raising your organisation and you want to be able to go into different directions and touch different markets, you need to have black and ethnic people on your board. You need
Absolutely.
to have partners who are female. You need to be embracing people's sexuality, you know, not for the fact of making it an issue, because it really shouldn't be, but but the main thing is being aware of it, so it's not an issue.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. That they have the capability, they just so happen to be part of the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely.
And etc. Or the black community or women and things like that. That makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give to others in the legal field, such as myself, that could help better support my black colleagues, my other minorities, and
just
things like that?
It's a very simple thing. Just see the individual. It doesn't mean you have to like them, because you'll find people with whatever they are, you're going to like and you're not going to like, without being patronising. It's the truth of it. It's seeing the individual for the individual, not seeing the individual for whatever stereotype is around them. It's just seeing them. So you'll have some people you get on with, and you'll have some people you don't. But it should never ever be about just seeing the individual.
The label.
Yeah,
It's never the label. It's
never
who they are.
label.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So this is a more personal question. What are your own personal goals and ambitions in your legal career? I know you do the community law project and your own private ventures.
So for me, I'm more of a businessman. For the legal field, my aim is always going to be to support people primarily from marginal. We do take business clients on, but primarily from marginalised, low income and marginalised areas. That will always be my aim through the project, because I know the disadvantages they face. So that's really me for law. So that's my.
And as an individual, what are your goals?
As an individual, in my goals, I will go. I've got quite a lot of success, so I'm quite happy with that. It's the way I think I drive forward, so I will continue to build on my own skill set, especially the world's changed since COVID. So people want to do work less and achieve more, and you got then on the other flip side, people working a lot harder to achieve goals, and they're the people I spot. And then when you're looking, and life have changed a lot, so I've got to come up to date, and I need to get more into the technical world, because that's where everyone's attention is. So we're only going to get more technical, more into the internet, more into apps and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I need to build.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I know with your other colleague, the other co-founder of the Community Law Project, he briefly brushed on it and discussed what it was. But what inspired you to get involved? What inspired you to create the Community Law Project?
I've seen a lot of injustice over the years. I've seen a lot of injustice. In a lot of ways, especially around race. I've seen a lot of injustice in people trying to seek employment, where they end up going into a job. and they're the first one in, first one out. I see that a lot, especially around black males, black males, black females. I don't know whether, I think it's getting better but I've noticed that a lot. I've also noticed with the police, we're very known in South Wales for having a lot of racism in police. I think it's UK wide, but there's been a lot of racism there, and a lot of stereotyping, and there's not enough opportunities to go around. There doesn't really seem to be a stable, what I'd say a stable kind of black work community, really, other than what I'm creating.
Right.
As in the fact of you get it in different communities. You'll find that there's some level of stability. It doesn't really seem to. I don't see much of that now.
So is that your aim for that? Your ultimate goal for that, to kind of create that community for everyone? So that
I think it's creating itself. It is my aim, but I think it's creating itself, especially with the Gen Z, your generation. I tend to find a lot more diverse, and seem to be making that happen. It's for us it's for the older generation to, millennials and things, to catch up with that.
And as someone from a different generation, would you say that has to do with the technology, maybe the TikTok, the Instagram? We see each other's kind of plight and the socioeconomic disadvantages. You're not just, we're on different algorithms, but people have more of a platform. We can really see things that are going on. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think you see the world as the world. So it's like with social media and everything which you were raised in, and it's your world. And we're adapting ourselves to that, and we're learning about it now, because we've lived in two. You see the world. You're all international anyway. So wherever you go, and you see in America, you see in India, you see in Africa, you see in Europe, you see in everything which is going on, and you have them as you're growing up. So you see things a lot differently to what we seen things when we were quite restricted, and the only information we had whilst we were growing up was what was being projected to us through the news, through the telly. So we never had, so we've got to adapt to this, and this is my aim all the time, to learn from you guys how the world is going,
right?
Because then by that way, then it's opening my mind to where the future is.
Yeah.
Because you're the next generation. Well, you are the generation moving forward now.
That is kind of inspiring that you
It is.
think it is changing, because we do want some hope at the end of the tunnel, and I would agree. I think
I'm
a lot
very
more
optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so.
Yeah,
but thank you so much for taking the time to come out here and answer these questions. We appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you so much.